Hey everyone, I'm here today to take a look at the new Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain playset from Mattel based on the new Master of the Universe movie. And there's some beautiful packaging artwork on this. So you've got Castle Grayskull there, He-Man, there's some sky sleds flying around in the background, you've got Roboto and Teela and Mechanic down there, Man-at-Arms, He-Man on Battle Cat facing off with Skeletor. And then in the background there you've got Trapjaw, Triclops, Beastman and one of those Skelonites coming out of Snake Mountain. And I do really like this design for Snake Mountain, even if it isn't really accurate to the film. That is just quite a cool design for Snake Mountain. You can see there the dimensions of the playset. 35 centimetres, 14 inches tall and 68 centimetres, 27 inches wide when it's connected together. And there's some really nice photography on the back of the playset. And this is the kind of photography that inspired me when I was younger to take my toys outside to take photos of and then eventually make YouTube videos outside to make it look like it's in kind of a realistic setting. I love it when they put the effort in with stuff like this. I wish they did it more with their Jurassic Park and Jurassic World toys. Now normally when you get a playset like this from Master of the Universe, you get two halves of basically one playset. So it would be Castle Grayskull, the front and the back, and then the back would open up to be like the side of the castle. And the same with Snake Mountain. You get Snake Mountain, opens up and you've got like the two halves of the mountain. But with this playset, you've basically got two in one. You've got Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain together, which fold up together as you would imagine, you know, most of these playsets do. Got the usual clips, like the hooks that just slide up and hook it together to hold it closed. But there are also clips here at the top and at the bottom, and you just pull on those clips and you can then detach the castle from the mountain. So you can detach the castle from the mountain and have them standing separate from each other. So I'll give you a look at the two halves separately. The door here, it comes open quite easily, as you might have noticed. It keeps falling open, but there is a lock here that you can put the sword in, and this sword does come with a playset, and you put the sword in there and then that pushes the door open. But it, like, as I say, it doesn't hold closed that tightly. Once I'm messing around with it, it does have a tendency to keep coming open. But you see, push the sword in there and it activates the jaw bridge. The door effect is more of a metal wood effect, whereas the original Castle Grayskull, the tongue / door was very stone looking. Same with the teeth there, they look like they're kind of metal teeth going up towards the doorway. And this Castle Grayskull actually is a grey colour. Normally it's a greeny colour. I mean, it makes sense for it to be grey, it is Grayskull, even though I prefer the sort of greeny, weathered look to it. But it does have some paint apps, you know, you can see there's a lot of black shading around it and also some red there. It'd be nice, I'd have actually preferred the red to be green, as if it's moss or something. I mean, that they are, where the red is painted on, it does look like there's some kind of flowery pattern, so maybe that's what they're supposed to be. But I think green would have worked better to make it look like there's moss growing up the castle, just to make it look more ancient and weathered. But it's nice that it's got these paint details to it. And you can see that symbol on the head there. There's two turrets and you can stand figures in them. I'll show you that more when we get to the inside of the castle. Tiny little window there. And there's more little windows here next to the jaw bridge. The only core line figure I have is Skeletor, and that's because Skeletor actually comes with this playset. So I'll put him here just to give you an idea of how this core figures scale with this playset. You can see there's a bit of headroom at the top there, where Skeletor's standing at the doorway. And there he is inside the doorway a little bit more. And there's still a bit of clearance there above his head. So it's a decent enough size for the core line figures. Here's an Origins figure, and they are a little bit taller than the core line, and you can see his head is just about at the top of the door. He still fits through there, but only just. It's kind of just about scales with the Origins figures. And here is the Chronicles He-Man, and this is the movie line that I collect, and I basically bought this playset to be a background diorama piece for my Chronicles figures. You can see he is just a little bit too tall. See when he's standing in the doorway there, his head does hit the top, so it doesn't quite scale with it. But for just a background diorama piece, I think it's fine. But if you really want the Chronicles figures interacting with this playset, they are going to look a little bit too big. Here's a shot of the interior of Castle Grayskull. There's a platform here where you can stand figures, and the core line figures just fit in there. His head is almost to the ceiling, so a Chronicles figure definitely isn't going to fit there. And even an Origins figure, his head is stuck against the top there. So the platform is really only just big enough for the core line figures. Once again, you can fit a core line figure in the turret there. It's a bit, the whole playset is a little bit small. I guess playsets just don't sell that well anymore, so it's scaled down a bit to be barely just big enough. You can see there's not too much space there, but you can still put the core figures in there. There's also an elevator here, which just goes on friction really, and will come down like that. So there are pegs coming out of the bottom of this turret that you can put the figure on to hold it on, so you don't have to worry about it falling off, and it seems to hold on there quite securely. So there's no fear of the figure falling off when you're using the elevator. And there are two ways to open the door from inside. You can either use the sword by putting it in this slot here, and that activates it, or there's a button here you can press, and that opens it up. On my one, this bottom tooth here keeps catching when I close it, and it's actually bent the tooth a bit. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's got all these stress marks where it's been bent, where it keeps catching when I'm closing the door, which is a bit annoying. You have one sticker for Castle Grayskull, and this banner here going down the wall. But another nice thing with this set is that it comes with a weapons rack, and the weapons rack is built in. It's only a very small one in the corner here, but you get 4 weapons with it. You've got a spear, a club, and a larger and a smaller axe, which are all based on vintage style weapons that came with the original Castle Grayskull. The only one that's quite a bit different is the spear has been really redesigned, but the other 3 are all kind of straight up recreations pretty much of the vintage weapons that came with the vintage Castle Grayskull, and they all clip out of there pretty easily. And they don't look too bad with the Chronicles He-Man, even though they're designed for the core line, like here is with the club. Here's with the axe. I actually kind of feel like these weapons would actually look a little bit too big with the core line, because that looks pretty good with He-Man. I mean, that looks to scale with this Chronicles He-Man figure. The spear maybe looks a little bit too short for him, and the axe looks a little bit too small as well. If the axe head itself was bigger, I think it would look alright with him, but that just looks a little bit too tiny. So some of them work and some of them don't with Chronicles. It also comes with this altar for the sword, which is a really nice diorama piece. You have to make sure it's on level ground, because it only just balances up against there. So if it's leaning ever so slightly forward, the sword will fall forward. The sword itself has brown paint on the handle for the leather wrap, but it's also got a lot of gold on it, which isn't accurate to the movie, but it looks kind of nice when it's in this gold display piece. But it's kind of interesting. I guess it was to differentiate it from the sword that comes with the main figure in the line. But it's not a bad looking sword actually, quite a nice sculpt and paint job to it. And this is actually the Chronicles sword, which is larger, but that fits in there nicely as well. So if you are using this as a display piece for your Chronicles figures, you can put the Chronicle He-Man sword in there, and that looks pretty nice, I think. You can see the size difference if I take that out and put the core line sword back in, as well as having the gold detail and the main sword not. But I mean, I'm tempted to say the sculpt work's actually kind of nicer on that core line figure than it is on the Chronicles one. The Chronicles one doesn't have that detailing. The bit that's gold basically on this going up the middle of the sword isn't really sculpted on the Chronicles one. So even though this is too small for the Chronicles figures, it is a nicer looking sword actually. And now for Snake Mountain, and this is a very different design from any Snake Mountain we've had in the past, which I'm actually glad about. I never really liked the vintage toy Snake Mountain. I never liked how it looked. I loved how it looked in Filmation, but the vintage toy just didn't do anything for me. The Classics one, which is kind of an amalgamation of the Filmation and vintage toy, is really awesome, and it's a great size as well. Way too big for me to carry out here to do a comparison, unfortunately, but that classic Snake Mountain is awesome. But I like that this is actually different. I'm not just buying a variation of the same thing over again. Now, the vintage Snake Mountain and Classics had Wolf Gate at the top of the mountain. This has the gate. There's no wolf on it, but it's still, you know, basically the Wolf Gate at the bottom here, which is nice actually to have a bottom ground level entrance to Snake Mountain, and this just raises up like that, and it does hold in place. Not tightly, but it does hold in place. It doesn't take much to get it to fall down if you just knock the playset a bit. But I do like that we've got this entrance to Snake Mountain. You can see Skeletor there, just about goes under, just fits through there. Now I think what's supposed to happen is that when you push the mouth of the snake from the outside, it makes a clip in here move to activate the gate coming down. But on mine it just it doesn't quite hit the clip to make this come down. But you can see in there, the mouth should touch this clip, and if I push that out like that, it touches it there. But then when I push this up, it's just it's just not really quite working for mine. I don't know if I've done something wrong putting this together, where it's not quite activating it. But I think it is designed that the mouth from the outside should make this clip move, and then that makes the gate fall down. But it's just not quite lining up for me and working the way it's supposed to. Maybe I've put it together wrong, but I can't work out how to get it to go. But I do love this design that we've got the mouth of the snake where you can stand a figure. It's not really to scale, but I mean, to get a Snake Mountain that's to scale with these figures, it'd have to be about 20 feet tall. But in general, being able to stand a figure on the mouth of the snake is awesome, because I always loved how the mouth of the snake was a tunnel going into Snake Mountain, but on the original playset there was no way that you could ever stand a figure on it because it was just too small. So even though this doesn't look like your typical classic Snake Mountain, I like that they've found a way of getting us that mouth more incorporated into the playset, where you can actually have your figures interact with it. And it is a cool design, you know, you've got some red around the eyes. There's lots of reddy orange paint going along it. You've still got the snake going around the mountain there. And all this like purple rocky detail. I love the colour purple they've used for it as well. It's different to the purple used on the vintage playset. It actually reminds me more of the 2000X slime pit, which was actually Skeletor's, not Hordak's, and that was in this kind of purple as well. So it's giving me 2000X vibes. And there's something else that gives me 2000X vibes as well, which I'll show you in a bit. So yeah, it's not to scale at all, but it is still cool that you can have Skeletor stand at the mouth of the snake if you want to. I wish it was a bit bigger, so that the mouth of the snake actually would work as a doorway the figures could get through. If it was just like slightly taller, so that Skeletor's head would go under the mouth of the snake, that would be awesome. There's one sticker for Snake Mountain, and it's this one here that you have to put in, and you can see it kind of shows outside of Snake Mountain as if it's a window basically. We can see some mountains in the background in the sky, and then there's some kind of metallic cogs and detailing as well there. And maybe the most awesome thing about this playset is that it comes with Skeletor's bone throne, which does clip into the playset. You can't really close the playset with it all assembled, but when you open it up, you can put the throne in there, it clips into the back, and that is awesome. It has all these bronze snakes on the side. They're all articulated, so you can kind of move them around how you want. They swivel and pivot around like that. Like they're on a little bit of a swivel side to side, like that, and move around. So it's nice you've got an option actually of how you want to pose them, really. And here's the Coraline figure sitting on the throne. He looks pretty awesome on there. If I take him off, you can see there's brown here, as if there's kind of fur over the seat, and then you've got all these different bones and skulls making up the throne. There's a bit of a wash to it as well, it's not just pure white. There's a bit of a browny wash to make the bones look a bit old and weathered. So at the base of the throne there's two skulls that have got horns coming out of the heads. More spikes there, more bones and like a spine going up the back. All these bones to the side. And then when you get to the top, there's another skull with some horns coming out. Very devil looking. It's very, very cool. And we did get a bone throne with the classic Snake Mountain that was based on the Filmation look. This is very similar to Filmation, but it's how it looks in the new movie. But oh man, I love that throne. That is so cool. It's especially with the snakes either side too. And here's an Origins Skeletor. He's not quite sitting on the throne, but it still looks quite good actually. Even though I'm cheating a bit, his bum isn't actually against the seat. But it looks pretty cool. And having the throne at the top of a staircase does remind me of 2000X, because that's something that's from that cartoon. In the Filmation series, his throne was in front of the council table. It wasn't at the top of stairs or anything. So it's a very 2000X inspired throne with all the snakes going up the side as well. That's actually as far forward as the legs will go on that Origins Skeletor to get him to sit down. I will warn anyone though, if you push the legs up that far, the hard plastic of the pants does actually dent the plastic there. Now it's going to be hidden up by his skirt, so it doesn't bother me too much, but that is, you know, to warn anyone who's going to try and get this guy to sit on the throne. If you push his legs up as far as I did, which still wasn't far enough for him to really sit on the throne properly anyway, but if you do that, it is going to dent the plastic, which is unfortunate. There are these platforms as well, either side of the throne, but I've got a core figure here, and you can see they don't really fit in the playset. It's, you know, the roof's a bit too low. So even you can stand figures there, and there are pegs to keep the figures stood on there. They don't quite fit in there. And on this side, and I've got the Chronicles He-Man here, so he's having to sit down to fit in there, but there are chains and shackles, like on the vintage Snake Mountain, so you can keep some prisoners there as well if you want. And you can see both those platforms are either side of the throne. And the last accessory we get with this playset is a zip line that hooks onto the top of Snake Mountain there and goes down onto the platform inside Castle Grayskull. So you can have a figure, you put that on there, comes with this hook that just clips onto the hand, and it will slide down there like that. Now the Skeletor that comes with this, he's a kind of very, very dark purpley colour, his skin, rather than blue. And he's got all this gold armour on his boots and his gauntlets and that. I'm not quite sure what they're going for with this. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a god Skeletor look. It even reminds me a little bit of the Disco Skeletor from 2000X. But he comes with this Havoc staff, which is quite a nice sculpt there. It's mostly black, the gold head, red eyes, and then black for the horns. And you can hold that in both hands are gripping. Articulation's pretty good really, considering this is just like a standard core line figure. There's no ankle swivel, that's probably the biggest thing that's missing when it comes to articulation. No double joints, but still good joints at the elbows and the knees for bending and twisting. The legs go forward nicely like that. I mean, some of the articulation in this works better than it does in the Origins figures around the groin area. Trying to get the legs up on Origins figures like that is quite difficult. But he's got, you know, as well as a swivel at the wrist, they also bend in and out too. So he's got actually quite nice articulation. No torso articulation, you know, there's no torso cut. But there is a swivel at the waist, then the head on a ball joint. And he's got a black cape, which also has kind of a bit coming out the back here, which I guess is just to make it look like his cowl is connecting to the cape. So you've got one bit of fabric there, and then the main bit of fabric on the cape going down there. And this is kind of the rip effects at the bottom of the cape, like holes and things. I'm not normally a fan of soft good capes, but it works for this because he comes with his throne. So it'd be difficult to sit him in the throne if he had a solid plastic cape. Here he is with the Chronicles Skeletor, which is far better. It's got far better detailing and articulation. And as I say, I prefer plastic capes, and this one does have a rubbery cape with some really nice detailing sculpted into it. But that does mean that he's probably not going to sit in the throne. I'm going to try it now, but I can't imagine he's going to fit in the throne. It'll be too small and his cape will get in the way. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. Like the Origins figure, it's kind of cheating a bit. He's just sort of squatting above the throne rather than sitting on it. But it's not too bad, and the cape is soft enough that it does actually move and get out of the way quite a bit. I actually don't think that looks too bad, actually. Just for a display piece, you know, like I say, it's cheating. He's kind of hovering in front of the throne there, but it looks all right. But once again, the core line figure's legs articulate better than this and the Origins figures. Both this and the Origin figures Skeletor's legs will not go up fully when you try and bend them forward. They get to a certain point and then there just isn't room for them to move anymore. But but the Coraline figure's legs go all the way up. How have they got better articulation at the top of the leg where it connects to the groin on the Coraline than they have on Chronicles and Origins that are both more collector's orientated lines? It is kind of weird having Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull connected to each other. Obviously that doesn't work logically. And it does mean that you're basically getting two halves of two playsets. You know, you're getting a half of a Snake Mountain and half of a Castle Grayskull. It's more of a facade and a diorama piece almost, but playsets just don't sell well now with kids. You know, parents aren't willing to spend that much money on them, and they'd rather get their kids addicted to screens as a babysitter. So I think in the modern marketplace, this is the best you can expect for a child-orientated playset. This isn't made for collectors. But it is kind of a cool idea that actually you've got a complete play arena here. You know, you've got Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain all in one. So it gives children a complete Eternia almost to play around with when you've got both together. And I think both actually look quite nice. You know, both the sculpting work on Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull both look really nice. I like the new design of Snake Mountain. I guess some people might not. You know, it really depends if you want it to be more like the vintage toy or would you want it to be more like Filmation, which I think would be quite difficult because of how big it would have to be. But I'm glad they've done something unique with it for this playset. Like, I don't want to buy the same looking Castle Grayskull over and over again, so I'm glad they have made it look slightly different, even though it's still recognisably Castle Grayskull. You can see now I've got Skeletor's throne attached. I thought it was kind of odd that the stairs going up to Skeletor's throne are orange, but it does now make it look like there's lava. When you look through the gate there going into Snake Mountain, it's like there's kind of lava or something in the background, which is a cool effect. So I can see adult collectors being disappointed with this because it's going to feel like you're getting half of a Castle Grayskull and half of a Snake Mountain. But personally, I've got all the old Castle Grayskulls and Snake Mountains, so I didn't really need the same thing again. I think this is actually kind of a cool concept that you get both together and you can separate them and have them apart from each other. And, you know, for kids especially, to try and get them into the franchise, it cuts down on the cost for the parents. They just buy one playset and you've got the whole thing basically, Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. And I do like this design for Snake Mountain in particular. And I don't think it looks too bad here with the Chronicles figures. Because I'm coming at it from the angle where I just want a diorama piece to put in the background with my figures, and this actually works out quite nice because I can have all the heroic warriors standing on one side and all the evil warriors standing on the other side. So for me personally, it's actually kind of ideal for my Chronicles display. Even though the interiors are a bit on the small side, they still incorporated quite a lot of nice features in there. You know, I like that Snake Mountain has the chains for prisoners, and the bone throne in particular I think is awesome. That really makes the Snake Mountain interior. And for Castle Grayskull, I like the weapons rack and the sword holder. So what do you guys think of this Snake Mountain Castle Grayskull combo? Are you going to pick it up? Are you disappointed with it? Let me know in the comments what you think of this. Give me a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video, because it really helped me out in my goal to get to 50 billion subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.